In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where empires spanned light-years and technology surpassed imagination, Earth was nothing more than a speck. A planet with primitive humans, backward technologies, and an assortment of creatures that seemed laughably mundane to the Galactic Consortium. The Consortium, a council of advanced alien species that prided themselves on their conquests and intellect, had recently turned their attention to this insignificant blue orb. Their curiosity was piqued, not by admiration, but by amusement. The first reports from their reconnaissance drones were greeted with uproarious laughter. Earth's apex predators, though fierce by human standards, were considered pitiful by galactic comparisons. Lions, amusingly small. Bears, large but slow. Crocodiles, unimpressive in agility. And then there were the hippos. When their videos were displayed in the Great Hall, the gathered alien dignitaries couldn't contain themselves. The creatures waddled awkwardly, their rotund bodies and short legs moving with a peculiar gait. Their large mouths, though impressive when opened, seemed more suited for comedy than combat. One scientist, a slender insectoid being with a sharp sense of humor, made the observation that these creatures were likely Earth's version of galactic livestock. The room erupted in laughter, the sound reverberating off the crystalline walls. A human ambassador, the lone representative of Earth in these meetings, stood silently. He had been present long enough to understand the consortium's arrogance, but their dismissal of hippos struck a nerve. Clearing his throat, he addressed the assembly. "You laugh, but the hippopotamus is one of the most dangerous animals on Earth. It kills more people annually than lions or crocodiles. It is territorial, aggressive, and capable of enormous strength." The laughter only grew louder. One alien, a reptilian with shimmering scales, leaned forward and sneered. "Aggressive livestock? What do they do? Chase you with their stubby legs? Please, human, spare us your exaggerations." The ambassador sighed. He knew words would not sway them. These beings, with their superior technology and colossal egos, would only learn through experience. "Underestimate them at your own risk," he said quietly, more to himself than to the room. The consortium, however, had already moved on. Their interest in Earth lay not in its creatures but in its resources. Plans for an invasion were drawn up swiftly. Humanity, with its limited defenses, was deemed an easy target. Warbeasts, bioengineered monstrosities designed for planetary subjugation, would be deployed to ensure swift dominance. One alien strategist chuckled as he reviewed Earth's wildlife data. "Imagine their faces when they see one of our war beasts devour their mighty hippos," he said mockingly, earning a round of applause. As the meeting adjourned, the human ambassador walked out, a grim expression on his face. He had tried to warn them, but he also knew what awaited them. Earth had endured far worse than overconfident invaders, and its so-called livestock had a way of surprising even the most skeptical. The consortium's arrogance had blinded them to the reality of Earth's creatures, a lesson they would soon learn in the most brutal way possible. The invasion began with precision and arrogance. Massive alien warships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their sleek metallic forms blotting out the sun. From these vessels, the consortium unleashed their war beasts. These bioengineered creatures were unlike anything Earth had ever seen, towering monsters with exoskeletal armor, razor-sharp appendages, and glowing eyes that struck terror into all who saw them. Designed for planetary domination, these creatures were programmed to destroy anything in their path. At first, the war beasts moved methodically, tearing through forests, demolishing human structures, and routing Earth's military forces. Conventional weapons proved useless, bullets ricocheted off their armor, and missiles barely left a scratch. In urban areas, humans were forced to evacuate, leaving entire cities abandoned to the invaders. The consortium observed all of this with smug satisfaction. Humanity, as they had predicted, posed no real threat. In the African savanna, one of the war beasts approached a watering hole. Its orders were simple: eliminate any potential threats in the area and secure it as a landing zone for ground forces. The beast's massive claws dug into the earth as it scanned the surroundings with its glowing eyes. It detected movement, large, slow-moving creatures submerged in the water. Hippos. The beast advanced, its heavy footsteps sending tremors through the ground. The hippos, initially undisturbed, began to stir as the war beast moved closer to the water's edge. One bull hippo, larger than the rest, rose partially out of the water, watching the intruder with wary eyes. To the war beast, This creature was insignificant, just another part of the environment to be cleared. Without hesitation, the Warbeast roared, a deafening, mechanical sound designed to intimidate. The bull hippo responded, not with fear, but with aggression. It opened its massive jaws and let out a deep bellow, a territorial warning. The Warbeast's sensors registered the response as hostility, and it prepared to strike. The Consortium, observing from orbit, watched with amusement. Their Warbeast, a marvel of genetic engineering, was about to crush another of Earth's laughable creatures. The scene was broadcast across their fleets, a moment of entertainment to break up the monotony of conquest. As the Warbeast lunged, the hippo charged with unexpected speed. Its massive body moved through the water and onto land with surprising agility. The two collided, and what happened next shocked the observers. The hippo's jaws clamped down on the Warbeast's armored leg, and with a sickening crunch, it tore through the supposedly impenetrable exoskeleton. Sparks flew as the Warbeast stumbled, its system struggling to compensate for the damage. The Consortium's laughter turned to silence as the bull hippo continued its assault. Its sheer strength and aggression overwhelmed the Warbeast, which thrashed and roared in desperation. Other hippos joined the attack, their territorial instincts driving them to defend their home. In a matter of minutes, the Warbeast lay in pieces, its glowing eyes dimmed, its once mighty form reduced to scrap. From orbit, the alien commanders stared in disbelief. This was not what they had expected. Their Warbeasts, engineered to dominate, had just been defeated by creatures they had mocked as harmless. For the first time, doubt crept into their minds. Earth was not as simple as they had assumed. The Consortium was in chaos. What had begun as a leisurely conquest was now unraveling before their eyes. Reports flooded in from across the planet. Warbeasts were being destroyed in ways no one could have anticipated. The hippo attack was not an isolated incident. Across rivers, lakes, and wetlands, these seemingly docile creatures were turning into relentless defenders of their territories, annihilating anything that dared approach. On one observation deck, an alien commander stared at the footage in stunned silence. The hippos were not running from the Warbeasts, they were fighting and winning. Their enormous jaws crushed through armor plates like brittle shells, their charging bodies upended creatures many times their size, and their ferocity showed no signs of relenting. The Consortium's confidence in their Warbeasts had been shattered, and the disbelief in their ranks grew with every defeat. One report detailed an engagement near another river basin. A squad of Warbeasts had been sent to secure a wide area, but within minutes of entering the water, they were ambushed. Hippos emerged from the shallows like underwater tanks, their speed and power unmatched. The Warbeasts, designed for brute force, were unable to match the sheer territorial aggression of these animals. They were outmaneuvered and torn apart, one by one. In the command center, the strategists struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. "How is this possible?" demanded an insectoid analyst, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "These creatures are unarmed. They are not even predators. How are they destroying our most advanced creations?" No one had an answer. The Consortium had overlooked Earth's fauna, treating them as irrelevant in their calculations. Their arrogance blinded them to the fact that some of Earth's animals were not driven by fear, but by an instinct to defend their homes at all costs. The hippos, with their raw strength and unpredictable aggression, were unlike anything the aliens had encountered. On the ground, the humans began to adapt to the chaos. They realized that the hippos, while deadly to anything that entered their domain, could be used to their advantage. Local resistance groups lured Warbeasts into hippo territories, knowing that the territorial animals would handle the rest. Videos of these battles began circulating among human survivors, turning the hippos into unlikely heroes. The tanks of the rivers, some called them, while others simply marveled at the raw power they displayed. Back in orbit, the Consortium leaders convened in an emergency session. The mood was no longer one of superiority but of desperation. Every attempt to recalibrate their Warbeasts to counter the hippos had failed. The creatures were too unpredictable, too aggressive, and too unrelenting. For the first time, the Consortium faced the possibility that their invasion might not succeed. The alien commander, who had once mocked the idea of hippos being dangerous, now watched with dread as another Warbeast was torn in half. He turned to his advisors, his voice trembling. "We underestimated them. Earth is not what we thought it was. These creatures, they are monsters. The room fell silent. No one dared to argue. The consortium's retreat was disorganized, a chaotic withdrawal driven by panic and disbelief. What had been planned as a swift and decisive occupation of Earth was now a desperate effort to escape with as few losses as possible. The alien commanders, once confident in their technological superiority, were now overwhelmed by the unpredictability of Earth's resistance, not from its humans, but from its wildlife. The Hippos, in particular, had rewritten their understanding of planetary threats. On the ground, human forces capitalized on the chaos. Guerrilla fighters coordinated their efforts to herd alien forces and their remaining warbeasts into hostile territories. It wasn't just the hippos anymore. Crocodiles, elephants, and even swarms of aggressive insects played their part in turning Earth into an unforgiving battlefield. The planet itself seemed to rise against the invaders, exploiting their ignorance of its ecosystems. Every river, swamp, and savanna became a death trap. In one instance, a squadron of alien infantry tried to regroup near a riverbank, only to find themselves surrounded by hippos emerging from the water. The creatures moved with terrifying speed, their sheer presence enough to paralyze the soldiers with fear. Within minutes, the aliens were overrun, their advanced weapons unable to match the raw power of the animals. The humans watching from a distance did not cheer, they only stared in awe. Up in orbit, the consortium's command center was in turmoil. Reports of catastrophic losses flooded in from every region. The warbeasts, once the pride of their military, were no longer a viable asset. For every one that managed to retreat, dozens more were dismantled by Earth's unrelenting defenders. Alien analysts scrambled to update their data on Earth's fauna, but it was too late. Their mistake had been fatal, and the realization weighed heavily on the Council. "We must cut our losses," one senior advisor said, his voice hollow. "This planet is hostile beyond anything we anticipated. Even without their technology, these creatures make human resistance irrelevant. We cannot hold our ground." The alien commander who had laughed the loudest at the mention of hippos sat silently. He replayed the footage of the first warbeast's destruction over and over, the image of the bull hippo tearing through armor seared into his mind. "We've underestimated more than just the animals," he admitted at last. "The humans used their world against us. Their strategy turned nature itself into a weapon." Earth, the consortium now understood, was no ordinary planet. It was a place where survival demanded not just strength, but adaptability and resourcefulness. These traits extended not only to the humans but to every living thing that shared their environment. The arrogance of the consortium had blinded them to this reality, and they had paid the price. The retreat order was given. Alien ships began leaving Earth's atmosphere, their engines roaring as they fled from a planet they now called a death world. From orbit, the once proud invaders looked down at the blue and green sphere, their awe and fear overshadowing any remaining thoughts of conquest. On the surface, humans watched the sky as the alien ships disappeared. The battles had been brutal, and the losses were immense, but Earth had held its ground. Its defenders were not just its people, but the very life that thrived in its wilds. For the first time, the world's most dangerous creatures were recognized not as threats, but as protectors. In the aftermath, stories of the hippos spread across the globe. Humanity, resilient as ever, found a strange comfort in the knowledge that even in the face of overwhelming odds, Earth's creatures had proven their strength. The consortium would remember this planet, not for its resources or its people, but for the unrelenting power of the animals they had once mocked. Far away, in the cold void of space, the alien commander stared out of a viewport. "Earth," he muttered, "is not to be underestimated." And he knew they would never return.